Welcome to AmeriCanaries Podcast number 8. We have special guest Sean O'Connor from the what do you call that part of Virginia, Sean?
Well, it depends on. Well, we have many names: the Piedmont, heart of Virginia, Central Virginia, capital of the Confederacy. Take your pick, Ken. It's Richmond.
Richmond, coming from Richmond, home of the University of Richmond and VCU, but VCU is actually in Richmond. It isn't University.
And actually, University of Richmond isn't within the. It is within the city limits. I think it's right on the border. And if you've never been to the University of Richmond, it's a gorgeous campus. It's red brick Gothic. It reminds you of, if you've ever been there, University of Oklahoma. It's the same kind of architecture, and it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. Beautiful.
Gotcha.
Like our parking garages.
Yeah.
Speaking of Oklahoma, our resident Oklahoma graduate and founder of AmeriCanaries, Mark Foster, is joining us once again.
Howdy, guys.
So I know this is about Norwich, but Mark is kind of bummed with the coaching situation with Oklahoma.
Bummed, anxious. Got a million different emotions going on right now.
And as me, a former resident of Oklahoma, 3 years,
Yep.
I understand the pain.
Yeah, and both Mark and Sean are fans of the Kansas City Chiefs. I've
True.
seen Sean's. You go there like every year, except for last year.
The year except for last year, and we haven't gone this year either. So we're behind. But the reason why is I have a good friend, Barry Rubin, who's the strength and conditioning coach for the Chiefs.
Ah, there you go. And Mark grew up in Kansas City. How long did you live in Kansas City, Mark?
10 years. Most of my primary childhood.
Gotcha. So. Well, I grew up in Balmer, hon. Balmer.
All
right, so we're going to try and make this much shorter than the 2 hours we had with Jackie Tompkinson, but that was a delightful conversation. She's a wealth of knowledge, very, very well informed in the sporting world and the soccer world. It was delightful talking to her and learning from her and, hearing about all her experiences. So those of you that listen for 2 hours, God bless you.
Yeah. We were swerving all over the road.
God bless you. It was great. She's really a tremendous woman. I was glad that we were able to get her on. Hopefully, we'll have her on at some time in the future, maybe when Jonathan actually is part of the first team for something.
Yeah,
that would be.
And we need to get David on too.
Yeah, the Jonathan's
dad on.
Okay, so Sean, what we do with all the guests, we ask them a couple questions, then we get into what's going on. So, like, when did you become a Norwich fan? Favorite match, if you have a favorite match, favorite players, and have you ever attended a match? We've had a couple people who actually have attended. We had David Lamb and Matt Roberts, who actually are from England, and they've actually been at Carrow Road.
Well, I can tell you right off the bat, I've never been to a match. I've never been off the continental United States. I did not even get a passport until 2018, and I haven't had a chance to use it because of COVID. So I am pent up with a lot of travel that I need to do, including to Carrow Road. But I will tell you, I know exactly when I became a Norwich City fan, or at least I can give you a pretty tight window.
Okay.
I was always an Anglophile, even as a kid. Like, loved everything about Britain, especially British music, British history, just everything about Great Britain. Obsession. But I never liked soccer. I was a baseball guy. I was a college football guy mostly. But, soccer was this thing that you could, take or leave. I didn't like it. When I was a kid, I delivered the papers, and I would get up in the morning around 4:00 and turn on sports. And my only exposure to English soccer was during this small window, maybe 15, 20 minutes before I had to go get my papers. There would be some game on ESPN back then. They would show anything. And
right.
So I'd watch a little bit of and I only knew 3 teams because they all played the same 3 teams: Tottenham Hotspur, Arsenal, and Sheffield Wednesday. Those are the only teams I knew.
Really?
Yeah, those are
Wednesday. Wow.
that was it. So, I didn't care about soccer and didn't for years. And then when I lived in Atlanta, we lived in a place called Ackworth, which is in Northwest Atlanta. I was driving to the YMCA on a Saturday morning in the fall of 2004, and I turned on my XM radio and just flipped it to the BBC and was listening to the game of the week. And I don't know if you're familiar with the BBC, but the second hour of Sports World will be a play-by-play of some Premier League game. But they will cut out constantly through the last 45 minutes of this game to report on other scores throughout England. Someone would be at Huddersfield versus Scunthorpe, or Shrewsbury versus Port Vale, and there'd be a report on the game and what's been going on. And it was just fascinating to me that there was all these reporters all over England reporting on these games, and I was hooked. And I thought to myself, where has this been my entire life? It just was fascinating how they conducted the entire broadcast with this, a Premier League game, and it would be Ian Dennis or John Murray doing the play-by-play, and they still do it. But he would cut out and go to whatever grounds the guy was giving the update, or a girl. And it was just, to me, it was fascinating. Everything about it was just fascinating. I couldn't get enough of it. So, and even to this day, I prefer to listen to the BBC from 10 to 12 every Saturday, and I still do it, and I love it. And so I knew that now that I'm hooked, I need to find a team. And
sounds a lot like Sky Sports Saturday too.
Yes, yeah.
Without one of Jeff Stelling, is that? Yeah,
the guy, you go from Carroll Road when we came back. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
An update of Carroll Road. That was a goal, and then you go, oh, hopefully it's a Norwich goal, and you don't know.
That's great.
Whether it's a Norwich goal or
when we came back from 3 down.
Yeah, that was great.
Right. So
I think it would be cool if ESPN did that on Saturdays with college football.
Oh my
God! That same
really?
kind of format. Can you imagine how far down you could go?
No.
In levels with that.
ESPN stopped because the NFL has the red zone. Then ESPN this year they stopped. They would have the coverage. It wasn't like one game they go to everybody, but they would flip around. They stopped that this year.
Why?
I don't know. I really don't know why they stopped it. Also, you're not covering all the games. The Fox games won't appear. Yeah, they cover everything else, but the Fox games, but they stopped doing it. But
they don't want to drive. If it's a good game, they don't want to drive any viewers over to the Fox game.
Right. So they wouldn't do it, but it was kind of, if you weren't really following a game, and it's like they would just go all over the place. Hey, look, it's an Ivy League match, game. Like, okay, you're never going to see an Ivy League game normally. So I'm like, okay, so you're looking for a team, Sean?
Yeah, and I have to say, Mark, real quick, is the Nottingham Forest game. Is that what you're talking about, right?
Yes. It was the Forest game.
It's probably my second or third favorite game, if not my favorite game ever. I still watch that on YouTube. It's fantastic. Just the reactions in the studio is just amazing. But you go down the list and you start learning about the teams, and I hadn't picked a team, and you go, what do you know about this team? What do you know about this team? One of the teams that I was focusing on was Millwall, and a guy I knew when I lived in Atlanta who was a real sports nerd. I mean, even more than me. He knew all the sports I knew plus soccer, and he said, I wouldn't do that. They have a big hooligan problem. And I said, that's enough. I'm out. But then I found Norwich, and the things that really attracted me to them, and this is very childish, were the colors. You always knew when Norwich was playing because they always were green and gold. Nobody else is that way unless it's Brazil.
Or Nantes.
Right.
Or Nantes in the Ligue 1.
Right. And I grew up in Norfolk, Virginia, so there's the Norfolk connection. And,
Gotcha.
And just seeing Carroll Road, and they were in the Premier League. It was 04-05. It was fall of 04. So they were in the Premier League, and that wasn't really here or there. I didn't care which league it was. But the first time I heard On the Ball City, I had chills. I really did. It was a guy named Stuart Banfield, and I've never been able to find the guy since, but he had a Norwich City fan site early on in the internet, and he posted his video of On the Ball City And to me, it was fascinating. This song that they play, and everyone plays it, and it's it just embodies everything that was great about this club, and I just was hooked. It was really weird. It made no sense because I have no connection to the town. Like Mark has a connection to Norwich. I don't. But it kind of fell into place, and I said, this is my team. And it made sense. And once you make that connection, you go on with both feet. You really do. And you just, this is your club, and this is the rest of your life. It's going to be this club. And then you start researching Carrow Road and going to Carrow Road. I'd love to go. And then, I do street views of Norwich, and I just, obsessed with this place that I've never been, which is maybe not never being there is part of the fascination. I don't know, but it's just something that that kind of grips you and keeps your attention. Does that make sense?
Sure. That's a great origin story.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, because from what I could tell, Norwich is very different than many of the other. I think they're different than every other place that has a Premier League club. It's
the medieval nature of the center of the town.
Yeah. It's isolated. To some respect, because I always say, why does it take so long to get from point A to point B? You're not that far away. The answer is we don't have highways. We have just like 2-lane roads that we have to traverse all the time. So it's like before the highway system, happened in the United States.
Yeah, and to me, it's more like a college team. It's more collegiate. They love the club. They don't. How do I put this? They don't over criticize the club. They love the club, but you don't feel like there's this overt pressure to do really, really well. Like University of Alabama, for instance, you have, an 8-3 season, and they're ready to turn on you. You don't get that impression with Norwich. You feel that's why Daniel Farke lasted as long as he did. They're not willing to, just give up on people and throw them aside.
Right.
It's more like a college team that wants to do well. And that was the other thing. It felt like it didn't have that, I hate to say it, that hooligan feel that some of the other clubs did. It just felt like that Norwich was this outlier, and it was more like a congenial atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
It was friendlier. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like a family-friendly club, and some of the things that have happened the last couple of years with people being jerks or treating women poorly. Everyone else has their back. It's like, hey, they report, and then everyone else is like, hey, I saw this, and the club was like, hey, we can't have any of this. You're losing your season ticket. You're banned from the ground. So they want to make sure that it's a comfortable and welcoming place for everybody. Which is great. Our friend Robin Sainty does a lot of that work with the trust. Really helps push. What I'll call basically be a mensch, the Yiddish word, treat, be a gentleman, be a lady, whatever, do things the right way,
exactly.
And they do things the right way. You're not going to hear anything about, the Norwich fans up in Newcastle, they smashed a train car. No, you're not going to hear that.
That would be completely foreign if I ever heard something like that. It just wouldn't feel like a Norwich City, fan base at all.
I mean, it's kind of what makes so curiously funny the image from Portman Road of the guys up on the deck, and they look like they've been on a bender after we came back in that game, and they're it's like you put another non-loss in the column. I think when that was when Close
right
made that last effort to tie it up late, and everybody's just we went from
they thought they had that. They thought they had that.
What can you see? Can you see back here my poster that's like yellow and green?
No,
you can't see it in this view.
There's a big fat head in the way. There it is.
There it is. Yeah. Okay, that is 10 years of goal scorers. That celebrates 10 years of not losing to Ipswich. That's an image of all the people that scored goals. I forgot who put that out. It may have been Talk Norwich City or something like that. It's a really glossy poster. So I got it framed last year. So it has everybody who scored a goal in those 10 years of not losing to Ipswich.
So anything from the 2011 game with the 5-1.
Yeah, they're there, but that's if the faces aren't there. It's basically the artwork. They really don't have the faces, but you know who it is.
I remember Pacheco scored that last goal that year, and that was that game. It was just the icing on the cake. And Alistair Bruce Ball did the play-by-play, and it's just a fantastic final nail in the coffin on that 2011 game. And I have not been able to find that since.
Pacheco is the only one whose name is actually on the jersey. Everyone else, you sort of know who it is.
Right, because if it's Grant Holt, he's probably got the microphone mustache.
Right.
And I want to say that's Ben Lister's. I could be wrong.
I don't remember who did the artwork.
That sounds like his style. I could be wrong.
Yeah. I don't remember who did it, but it was one of those. It's like, hey, let's get something. What do I have? I got these posters. Oh, I got this poster. Believe me, it wasn't cheap to get it framed. Believe me,
framing's not cheap anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap because the guy that I normally went to was the same name as me, who has a framing store, was out of business, and he probably would have been 1/4 the price of what I paid. I went to Michael's, but it turned out really great. I was really happy. So that's the only thing I really have on the wall. The rest of the room, I have Maryland stuff, I have Orioles stuff, I have Hall of Fame stuff, I have.
I got all kind of.
I got variety of baseball. That's the only thing that I really, really have.
Slight correction with an apology. I meant Stephen Lister.
No worries.
Not Ben.
All right.
Well, apologize to Stephen. Not that he's probably.
All right. So Sean, who's your favorite player? Like past player, current player?
When you first dive in, it was Darren Huckerby. It was just he was. Everything to me at that time was everything about Norwich. But there are other ones. Mackenzie, I really admired Mackenzie. Of course, Wes. Love Wes Houlihan. He was there for the, League One all the way to the Premier League. He was really that bridge between the two. Mm-hmm. And so he meant a lot. He was, just fantastic during that period. And of course, I mean, who doesn't love Pookie? I mean, Pookie is just fantastic. That goal yesterday, my God, that was fantastic. I mean, he's just
great volley. Yeah.
And the fact that I haven't seen a goal like that since in 2005. Guy who played for Blackburn had the same kind of goal where he just kicks it right out of the air. It doesn't hit the ground and goes right in the goal. 100 miles an hour.
That's the type of shot that Zlatan is famous for, doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it was Zlatan
and Ronaldo. Ronaldo would have lots of goals like that, where he would just meet it and smash it into the goal.
And can we talk about that? I mean, that to be down, and I saw the comments yesterday on Facebook, and they, I understand you're up a man with basically the entire game, and you can't win the game. But to come back, you're down a goal, and to score like that was just fantastic. It was just a great way to end that game. They could have just said, pack it in. We're not going to win this game, but they came back and they got the goal to tie it, and it was just typical Pookie. I mean, he just wouldn't give up. It was great. It really was.
And still knocking on the door with opportunities to win.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I watch, people go, "Oh, we should have done better." It's like the shot was on goal, wasn't it? You can't score a goal unless it's on goal. You're not going to hit it perfectly. Mark knows I've always annoyed by the announcers who think someone has to have a perfect technique all the time. And it's like, okay, yeah, so Lee Smaloo could have chipped the ball over the guy, but he didn't. He hit it, and the guy made
all the other opportunities we had to put it in the net the whole game.
Right,
and that's everybody's frustrated that we didn't come away with 3 points. It was there, but like Dean Smith said, the final third just isn't. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. I mean, in games where we've been the minnow and beaten the big teams, that's what the other team's saying. Well, we just didn't finish it in the final third because, we're parking the bus usually at the end when we're,
Right.
leading a really big club. And it's the same thing. It goes both ways.
And they did park the bus. I mean, it was typical. It was, you're down a man, you're going to go on defense. I mean, that was pretty obvious.
First thing they did was put another back.
Yeah, they put a defender on. Huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, that was to be expected. I mean, what wasn't expected, again, it was, you can argue the handball. I don't think you can. I think it was legit, but still, they were aggressive enough to get the handball. But, again, the fact that you come back and you score that late, to me, it just shows a resiliency that you might not have seen a month ago. I don't know. I think you take this and make it into a positive. I'm not down by getting a point at Newcastle. I think it was, a great point. I really do.
Well, there's some weird stats that I saw beforehand. I'm like, oh God, people bringing these up again. It's like the doom and gloomers. Norwich have never won on a Tuesday in the Premier League. Still applies. Norwich have never beaten Newcastle away in the Premier League. Still applies. So all these weird stats, I'm like, oh, forget it. Ignore that. But it's like, okay, no matter what happens, it's just the weirdest thing. Yeah, no matter who's there, who's running the club, who's playing. They just, I think playing on Tuesday is just tough.
Well, number one, how many times do you do it in the Premier League season?
Right. Yeah, I don't know
Wednesday,
how many times.
Sure. Tuesdays, not unless it's coming across a holiday season.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't see those stats. That's one of those. Oh, this team hasn't beaten this team in 25 years. Well, yeah, they played them 25 years ago, then not since. You can have all these weird stats. So that was just kind of odd. All right, so now we've delved into the match here. Mark actually did some.
I wrote some notes.
He wrote some notes. He did his.
Well, your memory starts to go. You have to actually write these things down, and I wrote them as I was going. I talked about those earlier opportunities. Sargent's got to bury that cross in the 29th minute. He had Lewis on him, and Lewis kind of broke up the ball, but he had that dead. He just needed to get his foot on it, and it just fumbled through. He had another. People are slating Sargent. It'll come, and when it comes, I think it'll be great.
He's catching. By the way, as you know, he's catching a lot of shit.
That's what. That's what I'm saying. I mean, and it'll come. I think just a little bit more patience. He had a bad cross to Pookie in the 53rd minute. I forget the details on it, but I thought it could have done better with that. I have no problems with the PK call against us. That call's going to happen now. I didn't realize it just because I didn't pay much attention to it when it happened. There was probably a PK that could have been called against Newcastle. You can go out and find the tweets on it that looked every bit as bad, if not worse. I think the only saving grace was proximity to the original contact, but the arm is out extended there.
I think Gilmore is the issue because I know Mark, you listened to the radio call. I don't know.
I didn't know. I didn't have the radio call because I was in class. I watched the game off of Peacock when I got home last night.
You have to say it like Rebecca Lowe. Peacock.
Yeah, Peacock.
She says it like it's two separate words.
Yeah, I think for
them the two different accents. It's not. It's Peacock. It's two separate accents.
There's any issue with the Pookie with the red card to begin with? Do you think it was? From a different angle, it seemed like maybe it was theatrics. I'm just
a little bit. I mean, there was a part of me that was like, if he had fought through that, he still was winning the ball, and it was a one-on-one for him to bury.
I saw
lucky we got the call.
Yeah,
I mean,
I didn't think that
it works out in the end, but in a way, it might have been a little weak. I'm with you there.
Okay, I thought it was weak, but I don't.
I knew it was I was surprised when it was a red. I was like, oh, he just took him down.
I was surprised it was a red at the 10-minute mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly, or thereabouts.
What do they call it? Was that DOGSO? Isn't that the acronym for him? The denial of a goal scoring opportunity.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's behind the last man, and the last man pulls him down. So, I mean, that's what made it an easier call is you put any kind of body on the guy and he goes down, and you deny the opportunity when he's clearly out there.
I'll give it to Pookie. I mean, I don't know how you do it, but it does look like he's being jerked back, and looking from a different angle, I think it was.
And the guy made the call immediately. There was no patience on that. He went right to it.
Right.
So,
and of course, in the end, it didn't really help because he didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah, I've seen that before, where a team who has 10 all of a sudden is the more dominant, where is like more space for them to operate or something. I've seen it happen before. It's weird.
And I have to say, Mark, I'm sorry, Ken. I was looking at the stats, and they, at least on ESPN, it was 68% possession.
That's what I saw.
To Norwich, and then I'm watching a lot of the game, and including the highlights, and I'm thinking, okay, I guess, but Newcastle did not fall back on their heels. They were kind of aggressive at times. They really were.
Yeah, they have a lot of good people there.
Well, they did that on the counter. I mean, we were holding the ball in the middle and doing the pass back, like we often do, playing it back out of the back. I should have kept track of how many times it went from the final third all the way back to Kroll. Now, Kroll might have not have been all the way back in his box, but he was still. It got played all the way back through the middle. That
so annoys me. They're on attack, and then 5 seconds later, Kroll has the ball. It's like, why? I don't understand why that happens so frequently.
It's resetting. It's just a reset default, and it's a safe play. I get that, but one bad pass turns that into a deadly mistake.
Yeah,
and
exactly
a team like us, that's what can happen. To Kroll for a second, he guessed right on the PK.
Right.
He guessed right. The only problem was he only used the one hand. I think two hands, or maybe getting it up his wrist a little bit versus on the glove. Yeah. He makes that save complete.
I know, but I think it's hard when there's a peak. When you see the shot coming, where you know what's coming from, you have more room, more time to do that. The PK, it's like you're guessing.
Right.
And he needs to have the other hand just in case it's towards the center. So he
you can bring it back in case he's
bring it back. Right. So he can't
overcommitted.
Yeah, with two hands, but he guessed right. And the guy hit it.
It's a great guess. Yeah.
He hit hard enough.
Well, he does his homework. We know that.
We
know the leading.
He loves that
penalty specialist, I think, in the world. And we forget that, and we forget it until he makes another save.
Yeah.
But he was right on this. So it was just a little too much mustard on it, and not enough hand.
That's the point. That's the problem. Is that again, you're down 10 men, and we think it's going to be a blowout, or it's going to be 2-0, whatever. And it's just that's not the way it works. Because you can in soccer, you can pack, do the pack line defense or park the bus, whatever you want to call it, and it makes it that much more difficult to win. And it really is. And then Newcastle needed a point.
Yeah,
they still denied them their first win. So.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, they get the first win. Yeah, no win, still no win.
That's amazing. I think in the Ted Lasso series, the second season, I'm not spoiling anything for those who haven't. They go through something where they have 6 draws in a row or something, at some point, and that becomes an issue. So it's like Newcastle. Oh, okay. You've had all these draws. It wasn't in a row, but they got their points on draws or something like that.
They did what they had to do to win. Not to win, but to draw, and it's
not a plot spoil. It's just it's.
I like the build up to our goal. Giannoulis had a great ball into Pookie.
It was amazing.
That was really good. I really, I went back knowing that pass and I watched more of his play and I really liked how he looked when I think a lot of us have dismissed him a little bit this year because we haven't seen him that much. I really liked that. Kenny had a volley on a late free kick that came over the top. Man, I'd love to get that back with somebody. Either Max or somebody that tends to be in that spot. It was on the backside, and he had 2/3 of the net because the volley had come across the top over 20 guys. Then I had the miss handball there too. But ultimately, what it came down to, part of it was the park and the bus, and part of it is just that final third. And are we going to have final third on a game where we didn't have two of our best playmakers out there?
Right.
So
sure. Rashisha had some sort of an injury that was held back, and Cantwell,
I missed what happened to him. I haven't really caught up with what was going on there.
Cantwell was caught up that the tracing, the COVID tracing.
Yeah, he got caught up in COVID somehow.
Yeah, it wasn't that he had COVID; that someone that he interacted with had it.
Yeah. And they're still restricting like that over there. I mean, I got a kid that we pulled off the track yesterday afternoon during 8th period athletics, and we're pretty sure he's COVID, but we're not doing tracing anymore. We haven't done any tracing at all this year. So, it's the first COVID I think we've actually had on campus potentially in a while, because we haven't had that.
And Sean coughs on command. Good job.
Yeah,
Sean.
since the early, we've had some self quarantines with kids. And we sent a few kids home, and then they either don't get the test and are out for their 10 days or whatever. But we haven't had a lot since mid-September.
That's good.
Now I say that, and here comes Omicron. It's already in California, so none of my kids had ever heard of it yesterday.
Really? Yesterday?
Yesterday, they hadn't even heard of it. Well, I'm not going to say much about where I coach, but
right.
Yeah.
They're not reading the papers or listening to the news.
No, they're in their own little world.
I was trying to be fair and neutral.
I know. Hey, I'm at least kind of wearing their colors today instead of wearing. Sean, I don't know if you've watched much of the podcast, but I tend to come in just as I am, which means I'm in a nasal hornet shirt of some kind, either football or soccer. Today it was a track shirt. I kept with the colors because we're still green and white and black, but I went ahead and threw on my jersey today just to change it up, so I'm not.
Yeah, I have them. I'll just wear stuff. I'll just wear whatever I have.
Yeah. Well, you can afford to do that at home. You can be in your PJs and all day. And I was there. I was there back in 2020 in the spring when I was teaching in PJs, right. And yeah.
How did your soccer goals turn out? Were you construction?
Oh, they're done. They're nice. They're chained up to the fence, and
nice.
They look great.
You just need some green paint.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it would work. I could go green with them, and they'd still be school colors. So. Nope, got them. Used all the parts. Didn't have anything left over, which is always good.
Nice.
For the listeners, Mark coaches like everything at his school, and he was coaching soccer and had to build the soccer goals.
Started the program, and I had to build the goals.
When you just started the program, you didn't have a soccer program at your school?
Not at the junior high.
Wow, really?
Yeah, really. And we're doing it, dragging the AD and kicking and screaming.
That's unbelievable.
Which is why I had to build the goals.
Gotcha.
I could tell you other stories off the air, but
you can bring Jackie in as an assistant coach. I'm sure
wow.
Good. Hey. Well, no, I want to bring in Heike. I want to bring in Heike. I want to go get Heike. He's over in Argyle. I'll go get Heike and bring him over. The Finnish guy that I ran into at Costco when I was wearing a Pookie shirt, and he works for Motorola, I think, and he's like, excuse me, are you from Norwich? I'm like, no, I don't think so. But this is what happens when you wear a Norwich jersey out in public. Is you kind of stand out. And
this is Metro Dallas. You're wearing this, and
I was wearing it in the Costco, the north side of Fort Worth.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I've worn it down to the Fort Worth stockyards and had a Norwich guy come up to me. I mean,
really?
Yeah, it happens.
I have a jacket. Mark's seen it. I'll get it. It's sitting over here from like Lambert's year. The jacket that they wore on the sideline. I got it from the sale when they had the where is it? You know, the Academy would put stuff on sale. So I wear this with some of my, come on, Ken, my lightweight jacket here. So
very nice.
I have this. You know, it's got the Aviva on the back. It has.
What year is that? This is the last couple of years, like.
No. This is like Lambert. This is Lambert's last. This is Lambert's
was
last
it?
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Hooray! Then it's got the, you know, so it's like waterproof, and it has a interior. I mean, it's got a lining, but it's, you know, so this is like my lightweight jacket. And every once in a while, when I'm wearing this, you know, walking in DC, especially walking back and forth to work, I'll have people like look at the crest, you know, and go, huh? And then every once in a while, I'll get someone go, oh, Norwich, you know, and give the thumbs up.
Yeah, right. They kind of,
something.
some people recognize it sort of, but they don't know who it is.
But lots of times, yeah, because I'm walking by Capitol Hill and stuff like that. So you get a lot of, you know, people, they're like, huh, what? Yeah. So the only time that someone really knew what it was, like immediately, I was wearing it in my building, got on the elevator, and the guy's like, oh, Norwich. Yeah. Oh, that's nice that you recognize it. So, yeah, well, I'm a cousin of one of the U.S. team goalies. I'm like, oh, really? Who? Brad Guzan. So this guy was related to Brad Guzan. So because he was related to Brad Guzan, he watched out of Premier League, knew Norwich. I never ran into him again, but it was just kind of interesting. It's like, oh, okay.
It's awesome.
And then there's a guy who I saw one time. I'm like, who the heck's wearing a Leighton Baines jersey? Like, oh my God, what is that? And then saw him again, and I talked to him. Then he wound up, his daughter and my daughter were in the theater program at the high school. So his daughter was, he's got 2 kids. So every time we're at the play, he was at every single performance because she was there. And we would talk about, you know, soccer and X, Y, and Z. But I'm like, who the heck's wearing a Leighton Baines jersey? You know, when I saw him again, I'm like, oh God, you're the guy who wore the Leighton Baines jersey. You know, I was like, and let me tell you that this was not a Leighton Baines game worn jersey. This is a large dude.
Right.
So this is, you know, 5XL or something. Super nice guy.
Well, James, you and I talked about, you and I talked about James, Ken. And I met James Copland. It's a weird deal. I was in Baltimore for a Chelsea Tottenham game in the middle of summer. It was really hot. And I go back to the hotel and I look over and I see this guy that I know. This is when I early on became a Norwich City fan. So this is probably like 2008, a couple of years after I committed to the team. And I look over and I go, I know you. He goes, oh, you do? I said, yes, you are the guy who runs the AmeriCanaries website. And he goes, yeah, I'm James. And I said, you have been my only connection to this club for the last 4 years was James Copland. I had no other connection because this is the early days of the internet. So you don't know, you know, there's no Pinkin, or maybe there was. I didn't know about any Pinkin. Right. And so everything flowed through James's, you know, New York Canaries website. So I met him in a bar, the hotel bar in Baltimore after the, you know, whatever friendly we went to that day in 2008. And that was it. That's really what started it to be, you know, make connections all over town, all over the world.
Do you know which hotel it was? Do you remember?
Sorry?
You remember what hotel it was?
It was somewhere near Camden Yards. That's all I remember.
There's like 5.
I know. I can't. But he was staying there, and I looked at him and I said,
Sure.
I knew this guy. I knew James from the website, just looking at his picture, and I said, I know you.
Was he in colors?
No,
Was he in color? He wasn't even. Wow. Okay.
I had a yellow Norwich City jersey on.
Yeah.
He was just dressed in regular clothes. So I said, I know you. I know you.
Wow, to pull him out like that. I'm horrible with faces, so I wouldn't. I wouldn't have made that.
Do you know Mark? Do you know James Copland?
Well, I know who he is, certainly,
Yeah.
but I have 600 people I'm trying to keep track of, and faces are not.
When my
the best.
son was
But
doing,
I'm familiar with James. I know the great work he's done.
Exactly.
My son did a digital journalism workshop at Columbia University in 2013, and I was trying to meet James, the New York Canaries. Well, it'd be in the summer. They all were on summer vacation. So I never got a chance to say, hey, were you guys up there? I'd like, come and meet you. He said, none of us are around. Sorry, the timing, that it didn't work. So I'd never got a
dark
chance.
in the summer. Yeah.
The only other time I met James was 2 years ago, right before COVID. My wife and I flew up to New York to see Morrissey. We love Morrissey. So in Queens, we met up with him. And, because he lives in Queens too. And, I hadn't seen him in, how long? 9 years, something like that, like almost a decade. And he's just a great guy. He really is. He loves Norwich. And if you go to Norwich, he would love to, if he's there with you, he will connect you with players and coaches. He's just that connected with the team.
Nice.
He's a good guy. Really good guy.
Well, we were planning on going last year, doing like an England trip. Obviously it didn't happen. We're still planning to go because there's a lot of people that I really would like to meet in person. All right, we're at 4150 here, something like that. Let's talk about the new crest badge. What are we calling it? Logo?
Badge.
American,
it's logo. It's over there. It's a badge.
What do you guys think about that?
You want to go, Mark?
Yeah, I'll start. I'm happy for it. If you break it down, what's an improvement, maybe what's a little bit of a step back with it. The lion is about a +3. The castle is a +1, maybe a +2, maybe a -1 on the canary because they shortened up the tail.
All right, good. I agree with you.
But then you take the overall design and what they have cleaned up to make it easier to work with,
right,
and to make it their own and make it more usable in this modern age. That's another plus couple of points. It's a total net positive. And I get where people, traditionalists don't take it away. I think the club did a good job of presenting their case.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to fall on deaf ears for some people. You're not going to convert them. Okay. I'm sorry. If you don't get it, you don't get it. But there was a lot that needed to be done. I'm glad they did it. I was always a big fan of Kevin Joseph's design. If you've ever seen that one, I've bounced that around out there on the net. Kevin's in AmeriCanaries. He lives out on the West Coast now, but he's a pretty good graphic artist and has done a number of designs for some AO groups around the country,
mm-hmm.
and done some other things here and there. But he did one, and his only mistake on that was to go ahead and put the castle element on the top, so it's got a little bit of that Ipswich feel with the battlements. But the bird looked great, and the lion looked fantastic on it. But it was a much cleaner look too. I always liked that one. That's been 8 years ago he came up with that.
Yeah.
But what they did with this, I think, is they kept all the elements that they needed to keep. So they listened to us when they did the survey.
Right.
Everybody said, keep everything. I mean, what can you get rid of? I can't get rid of anything. Don't get rid of the colors. Don't get rid of the
looking at the badge here. They had this to move the ball to the center. They had to shorten the tail feathers.
I understand that.
Yeah,
I understand that. That's the only negative is to do that.
Right.
To center that bird, you had to shorten the tail. I get that. And to keep,
but it actually looks like a lion
shield,
instead of some ghoulish figure here.
It looks like a baddie from an Atari 2600 game. Is how I've put it. It looks like some with that face, the Bart Simpson head, and the eyes and the grimace look. It looks like some 8-bit baddie.
Yeah.
I thought there was going to be a drastic change. I didn't know, like a Leeds change, maybe.
Nah,
But
nah.
it was very subtle, so I can't complain. I really don't. It's not that I love the old logo.
It's
But
a
the
change
one's
that if
not-
you're looking at the if it's a it's a change that if you're looking at the jersey from 50 feet away, you don't know there's been a change.
No, you don't
Right.
know this, and I think that's positive.
Right, but the point they made is it's a lot more repeatable. It makes it easier to put on other elements.
Yeah.
It gives it more
I did see
functionality.
something interesting because the Canaries Trust, has their own thing. I don't know if
Their silhouetted look. It's a
Yeah.
very clean, nice, super
Right.
clean look.
Yeah, I doubt they'll have any issue with that. I tend to think if they had an issue, they would have talked to Robin and said, "Hey, this is what we're doing. You guys might want to change or something."
Right. And I've always been scared of making anything for sale. I know we've had a little bit of this conversation on the side, Ken, about my concerns about using any of the most obvious element would be the bird and the ball in whatever form.
Right.
I don't think with the new design that we're going to get any flack at all from the club from this point forward. In if we wanted to sell T-shirts with an AmeriCanaries logo using the bird in its ancient historical form, I don't think they're going to have a problem with that. I've been very hesitant to do that before this change.
Mm-hmm.
You think that we can sell something with?
I've been wanting to start getting some merchandise out there, build a fund to do some things, get some flags made, and that sort of thing to get some flags out at the stadium.
I'm trying to get the bird over here. I have it on it won't come off. There we go. Yeah, this is actually because you're not selling. I have the bird.
Right,
magnet.
you've got the stuff that Jeff has
many of
done.
you listeners, however many there are, have with the bird on top of the
globe.
Ball.
You got bird on ball or bird on globe
with the Americas represented here.
The globe.
But you don't sell them. These are provided for free.
Right.
Someone's paying for them. Jeff's paying for them.
Jeff's been paying for them out of his pocket and postage.
Yeah, just paying for them.
Jeff's doing what he can to get away with it under his wife's radar. Let's be honest. I mean, and that's why I haven't made any flags, because if I start buying flags out of my own pocket, my wife's going to give me hell.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So
let's
let's
be honest,
try and wrap this up, because there's a Maryland Virginia Tech basketball game happening as we record this, and I'm a Maryland grad, and Sean is a Virginia Tech grad,
stuck in
right?
the middle between the both of you.
Hokies. We need this win.
Yeah, I don't even know what's going on. I have not checked any. I have not checked the score.
I said I wouldn't do it.
I have not checked the score. I'm in the second half. It is the Len Bias game.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. It's a Len Bias game, and they're giving out the jerseys. I have an actual shirt that a friend of mine on the internet made. His Twitter tag is Frosty Bias. That's Frosty was Len's nickname. So he actually made some shirts that were red, like T-shirts, not the tank top. I'm not a frat dude anymore. I wasn't a frat, but I'm not a frat guy. That's like the frat, the unofficial frat summer wardrobe is wear tank tops of a variety of basketball players.
Right.
Not a big fan of that look. So that's what they're giving out, like 4,000 of the students tonight, which is kind of cool. I have the old original one that doesn't have the logo of a prominent realtor who's a huge Maryland fan. He's also a huge guy. He's like 6'7" or something. I've met him before. So they're giving out the jerseys and his logos on the back. So that takes a little bit away from it. What I have, I don't have a logo.
Well, I love Len Bias. I love those Maryland teams, lefties from Norfolk, which is where I'm from. Len Bias changed a lot of people's lives more than he probably would ever know. He really did.
True.
But
I actually knew him. This is a story for another day, and my various interactions with him It's that's story for another day. But yeah, we did. Our fraternity knew the vast bulk of the basketball team, and they hung out at our house. So that's another story for another day. And we interacted with them a lot, and we were very lucky that we had that interaction with them on a non-basketball fan level, on a hi Ken, how you doing, good to see you, fill in name a basketball player or whatever.
It still affects me. His death still affects me this day. I changed my life because of him in a weird way. I did. I'm telling you, I did. There were things I was planning to do that summer that I didn't do.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. What's interesting, my interactions with him and his reputation was of someone that did not, quote unquote, party. Right. There were plenty of events that happened on campus that some of the basketball players took advantage of. He always declined. He never wanted to have anything to do with anything.
It was a sad situation.
With anything. So the fact that just an accumulation of alcohol and drugs killed him on that night was shocking to me, because he was not known as anybody that did either. He always declined any opportunity that we were aware of to do that. Other basketball players, not so much. They partook, more. He would always, not want to have any part of it. And he was insular in many respects. He had his own group of people that he liked to be with, and didn't really want to put himself out there socially a whole lot. So you get the impression he was, even though he's a hell of a basketball player, that he really was shy and wasn't as gregarious as you thought he would be.
No, I don't think we were thought he's gregarious at all.
All right. So
Let's
this has been a tremendous, like to thank Sean.
Thank you
for being on.
My first podcast ever. Thank you.
Well, this is number 8. So now we have 8 podcasts, and I have, Mark doesn't know, I was on the Fan Zone again last week. Thanksgiving.
They have that on during the summer when I'm actually available to do it at 7 a.m.
You're the busiest person I know, Mark. You really are. You got a lot of shit going on.
There's always something going on.
Right.
And I'll tell you, one reason I'm able to do so much is all my kids are out of school. I mean, they're in college, but this wasn't happening when I had 2 boys in Scouts and a Girl Scout selling 1,200 boxes of cookies every winter and all of that stuff.
That Boy Scout, I know exactly what you're talking.
Yeah.
So if you listen to this when it's published, you can see the Fan Zone, because they only keep it up for a week.
Good deal.
Yeah, they only keep it up for then they take it down. So I actually have to film it off my computer, or off the big TV. It's just the computer is a lot easier setting up the tripod and stuff to film it. I just have some fan hissing that I have to deal with, so it's annoying.
Yep.
All right,
boys, go watch Terps and Hokies. I'm going to go watch the Wings and Kraken.
All right, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Good talking.
Later.
Have a good night.
Have a good week.